The massive research vessel hung in Earth's orbit like a silver needle against the black fabric of space. Inside the observation deck, Captain Reed's 4 eyes widened as he studied the readings before him. His pale blue skin wrinkled around his throat, a sign of extreme confusion among his species. "This can't be right," he muttered, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic common. "Run the planetary scan again." The ship's AI complied, and once again the same results appeared on the holographic display. Earth was, by all scientific measurements, a Class 12 Deathworld. The gravity was crushing. The atmosphere was corrosive due to its high oxygen content. The temperature swings were extreme, and the planet was teeming with predators. Yet there, clear as starlight, were signs of advanced civilization. The captain leaned closer to the viewport, watching the blue-green planet spin below. Cities glittered like constellations across the dark side of the planet. Satellites orbited in precise patterns, and primitive space stations hung in low orbit. All of this on a world that should have produced nothing more advanced than basic survival organisms. "Alert the Council," Reed ordered, his voice trembling slightly. "We've found something impossible." Within hours, the ship's communication array was flooded with incoming messages from the Galactic Council. The discovery of intelligent life on a Deathworld was unprecedented. Even more shocking was the casual way these humans, as they called themselves, dealt with their planet's hostile conditions. The observation team watched in horror as humans willingly exposed themselves to the deadly rays of their sun for pleasure, calling it sunbathing. They saw them climb mountains for fun, dive into the crushing pressures of their oceans, and even keep apex predators as companions in their homes. "Look at this," Reed's science officer called out, displaying footage of a human settlement in a region called Alaska. The temperature there was cold enough to kill most species in minutes, yet humans not only survived but had built thriving cities. They even engaged in recreational activities in these freezing conditions, sliding down snow-covered mountains on primitive boards for entertainment. The Council's response was swift. A team of first contact specialists was dispatched immediately, though they required extensive modifications to their environmental suits just to survive on Earth's surface. The landing site was chosen carefully, a moderate climate zone in a region called Switzerland. The humans, surprisingly, showed no fear at the arrival of alien visitors. Instead, they displayed an emotion that the aliens' translators identified as excitement. Local leaders arranged a welcoming ceremony outdoors, despite the fact that it was raining, their planet's habit of randomly dropping water from the sky. Reed watched from the safety of his ship as his colleagues made their way down the landing ramp in their reinforced environmental suits. The human delegates stood there in nothing but light fabric coverings, seemingly unbothered by the water falling on them or the crushing gravity of their world. The lead human diplomat stepped forward, an older male named Tom Miller. He extended his hand in what their research indicated was a greeting gesture, and spoke words that would be recorded in the Council's archives forever. "Welcome to Earth. Would you folks like to come inside? We've got coffee and cookies." The first contact team hesitated, their environmental sensors screaming warnings about the toxicity levels of the substances being offered. Yet the humans consumed these cookies with evident pleasure, drinking cups of a hot brown liquid that contained enough stimulants to send a Council species into cardiac arrest. As Reed made notes in his log that evening, he couldn't shake the feeling that they had stumbled upon something remarkable. These humans weren't just surviving on their Deathworld. They were thriving. They had turned its challenges into opportunities, its dangers into adventures. The most perplexing thing of all was the way they smiled, showing their teeth in what was somehow not a threat display. When discussing their world's most dangerous features, they spoke with pride about their seasons, their weather, and their wildlife, as if living on a planet that regularly tried to kill them was a badge of honor. Reed knew that this discovery would change the galaxy's understanding of what was possible, but he had no way of knowing that this was just the beginning of humanity's surprise impact on galactic society. 3 months after first contact, the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber buzzed with excitement. The massive crystal dome above showed the swirling colors of deep space, while thousands of representatives from across the galaxy gathered to witness humanity's formal invitation to join galactic society. Tom Miller stood at the center of the chamber, wearing his simple blue suit among beings of all shapes, sizes, and colors. Some floated in anti-gravity fields, others were suspended in liquid tanks, and a few existed as pure energy contained within special devices. Yet all of them were staring at him, the human from the impossible world. "We offer humanity the greatest gift we can bestow," announced High Counselor Vale, her crystalline form shimmering with each word. "We have identified 300 perfect paradise worlds suitable for human habitation. Worlds where you won't have to struggle against gravity, where the weather is always pleasant, and where no dangerous predators exist." Tom shifted uncomfortably, knowing what he had to say next wouldn't make sense to them. "With all due respect, High Counselor, I've discussed this offer with Earth's governments. While we're honored, most humans prefer to stay on Earth." The chamber erupted in confused chattering. Captain Reed, now serving as humanity's advocate, stepped forward. "Perhaps they don't understand. These are Class 3 worlds, perfect for sustainable life. No earthquakes, no storms, no dangerous animals. Even the plants are safe." "We understand perfectly," Tom replied, pulling up images on the chamber's main display. "But let me show you something. This is my brother's family on their vacation last week." The image showed people smiling while climbing a steep mountain trail. "This is my niece at her marine biology lab." Another image showed a young woman swimming with enormous sharks. "And this is what millions of humans do for fun every winter." The final image displayed crowds of people skiing down snow-covered slopes. The chamber fell silent. A representative from a gas giant species finally spoke up, their translator struggling to convey their bewilderment. "You mean to tell us that humans deliberately seek out dangerous situations for entertainment?" "We don't see them as dangerous," Tom explained. "We see them as challenges, opportunities to grow, to learn, to feel alive. Sure, some of us would love to visit your paradise worlds, maybe even set up research stations or trading posts. But live there permanently. Most humans would feel like they're slowly dying of boredom." The council members exchanged troubled looks. High Counselor Vale's crystal structure pulsed with confusion. "But your children, surely you want them to grow up somewhere safe." Tom smiled, pulling up one final image, a playground on Earth. Dozens of children climbed structures, swung from bars, and ran around despite the ever-present gravity. "Our children need challenge to grow strong. On Earth, we have a saying, 'A smooth sea never made a skilled sailor.'" Captain Reed's 4 eyes blinked rapidly as understanding began to dawn. "You're saying humans don't just tolerate their Deathworld. They need it." "More than that," Tom replied. "We've built our entire civilization around overcoming challenges. When we don't have real ones, we create them. We run marathons, climb mountains, dive into oceans. We write stories about heroes facing impossible odds. We play games where we deliberately make things difficult for ourselves. Challenge isn't our enemy. It's our companion." The council chamber remained quiet for a long moment. Finally, High Counselor Vale spoke again, her voice carrying a new tone of respect. "Then perhaps we should modify our invitation. Instead of offering escape from your world, we offer partnership with it. Earth's unique conditions might prove valuable for training programs, survival schools, and research into adaptability." Tom grinned. Now they were getting it. "That's an offer I think humanity would be very interested in discussing. After all, who better to teach survival on harsh worlds than the species that turned survival into a sport?" As the chamber erupted in excited discussion, Tom caught Captain Reed's eye. The alien gave what his species considered a smile, a slight ripple of his throat membrane. Both of them knew that this was just the beginning of a very interesting partnership. Humanity was about to show the galaxy that sometimes the hardest path was the most rewarding one. The massive holographic display in the Council's Science Division showed 3 planets rotating slowly in the air. 3 different worlds chosen for what would become known as the Great Experiment. The lead scientist, Dr. Ray Thompson, stood before the assembled team of human and alien researchers, his excitement barely contained. 3 colonies, 3 different environments, Ray explained, pointing to each planet in turn. We have volunteers ready for each location. 1,000 humans per world, carefully selected to represent Earth's diversity. The question is simple. How will humans adapt to different planetary conditions over time? The first planet, Paradise 7, glowed with perfect beaches and eternal spring weather. No storms, no seasons, no dangerous wildlife. The second, Haven 3, represented a moderate world with mild challenges, occasional rain, slight temperature variations, and simple ecosystems. The third, dubbed New Earth, was another Deathworld, though slightly less intense than humanity's home. Captain Reed, now the project's official overseer, watched the preparations with all 4 eyes. The Council had never attempted an experiment on this scale before. "Are you certain your people understand the risks?" he asked Ray. "Especially those going to New Earth." Ray laughed, gesturing to the volunteer training area below. Through the observation window, they could see hundreds of humans excitedly preparing for their missions. Some were practicing with new equipment, others studying alien languages, and a few were even arm wrestling with the security robots. The New Earth group actually had the most volunteers, Ray explained. "We had to turn people away. The Paradise 7 team was the hardest to fill." The launch day arrived 6 months later. 3 massive colony ships, each carrying their 1,000 volunteers, departed Earth's orbit with great fanfare. The Paradise 7 group was led by Mark Adams, a retired teacher who spoke of creating a perfect society. Haven 3's team followed under Lisa Moore, an experienced city planner. The New Earth colony was headed by Paul Wright, a former wilderness guide who simply said, "Finally, a real adventure." The first month's reports were exactly what everyone expected. Paradise 7's colonists marveled at their perfect weather and easy living conditions. Haven 3 reported smooth adaptation to their moderate environment. New Earth's team faced immediate challenges: stronger gravity, aggressive local wildlife, and intense storms, but they tackled each problem with surprising enthusiasm. By the 3rd month, things began to change. The Paradise 7 reports grew shorter, less detailed. Mark's updates seemed to lack their initial excitement. "Everything is fine," became his standard response, though his voice lacked conviction. Haven 3's colonists were doing better, but Lisa reported an unexpected problem. "People are getting restless. They're deliberately going into the marginally dangerous zones, looking for challenges. Yesterday I caught a group trying to make their farming work harder by refusing to use some of our advanced tools." Meanwhile, New Earth's colony was thriving in ways no one predicted. Hall's reports were full of energy and innovation. "We've already improved the storm warning system," he reported. "The hunting teams have learned to track the local predators. Someone even started a betting pool on who can eat the spiciest native fruit without crying. We lost 3 greenhouses to the gravity storms last week, but the engineering team turned it into a competition to design better supports. They're calling it the Great Greenhouse Games." The alien scientists were baffled, but Ray and his human colleagues just nodded knowingly. During the 6th-month review meeting, Ray pulled up the medical data that confirmed what they had suspected would happen. "Look at the health markers," he pointed out. "Paradise 7 colonists are showing increased rates of depression, anxiety, and even physical health issues. Haven 3's people are doing better, but we're seeing similar trends at a slower rate. But New Earth's colonists, their physical and mental health scores are actually improving. They're sleeping better, showing stronger immune responses, and reporting higher life satisfaction scores than when they left Earth." Captain Reed's throat membrane rippled with understanding. "They're not just surviving the challenges," he said slowly. "They're having fun with them." Ray smiled, watching the latest video from New Earth, where colonists had turned a necessary cliff face evacuation drill into a racing competition. "Captain, I think it's time we explain to the Council exactly why humans build playgrounds for their children. Because what you call danger, we call growth. And what you see as hardship, we see as opportunity." The experiment was far from over, but already it was teaching the galaxy an important lesson. Perhaps paradise wasn't one size fits all, and some species needed their hells to build their heavens. 6 months into the great experiment, the perfect beaches of Paradise 7 remained as pristine as ever. The twin suns still set in a glorious display of purple and gold each evening. The air stayed at an ideal temperature, and the gentle breeze never grew stronger than a whisper. It was, by every alien measure, perfect. And the humans were quietly going mad. Mark Adams sat in his office, staring at the blank report form on his screen. How could he explain what was happening? The medical bay was filled with colonists complaining of headaches, muscle pain, and a deep, unexplainable tiredness. Others reported feeling like they were swooning through fog or slowly turning into clouds. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. "Come in," he called out, grateful for any distraction. Bill from the agriculture team entered, looking as listless as everyone else. "We lost another group," Bill reported, slumping into a chair. 4 more colonists took the shuttle back to the transfer station this morning. Said they couldn't take another day of nothing. Mark nodded. They'd lost 30 people this week alone. The Council's observers were baffled. How could anyone want to leave paradise? But Mark understood. He felt it too, a creeping emptiness that no amount of perfect weather could fill. The colony psychologist had a name for it: Paradise Syndrome. The symptoms started small: restlessness, difficulty sleeping, loss of appetite. Then came the deeper changes. People stopped creating art. The colony's band quit playing music. The community garden, once a popular gathering spot, lay untended despite the perfect growing conditions. "Look at this," Mark said, pulling up footage from Earth. It showed their old community dealing with a massive storm. People were working together, fighting against the wind, protecting their homes. Remember how alive we felt during times like that? Bill's eyes lit up for the first time in weeks. Remember that blizzard 3 years ago, when we lost power for 2 days and everyone gathered in the community center? Those were some of the best conversations I've ever had. The paradise world had no storms to bring people together, no challenges to overcome, no problems to solve. The aliens had removed every obstacle, every difficulty, every possible source of stress or strain. And in doing so, they'd removed everything that made humans feel truly alive. Mark opened a new communication channel to the research team. "We need to talk about what's really happening here," he began. His words came slowly at first, then faster as he finally gave voice to what everyone had been feeling. He told them about the children who had started intentionally breaking their toys just so they'd have something to fix. About the teenagers who had created an underground parkour group, turning their perfect buildings into obstacle courses. About the adults who spent hours in virtual reality simulations of Earth's most extreme environments, desperately seeking the challenge their bodies and minds craved. "Yesterday," Mark continued, "I found a group of our best engineers deliberately making their work harder. They turned off the automated systems and started doing everything by hand. When I asked why, they said they were trying to feel something again." The alien scientists listened with growing concern as Mark described how the perfect climate was affecting human biology. Without the need to regulate body temperature, their metabolisms were becoming sluggish. Without variable gravity challenges, their bones were losing density despite exercise programs. Without any environmental threats, their immune systems were becoming oversensitive, creating autoimmune responses to nothing. "We're not built for paradise," Mark concluded. "We're built for overcoming, for adapting, for fighting back against whatever the universe throws at us. Without that," he gestured to the empty community center visible through his window, "we're lost." The Council's response came quickly. They would allow any colonist who wished to leave Paradise 7 to transfer to either Haven 3 or New Earth. The exodus began immediately. Within days, half the colony had filed transfer requests. As Mark helped coordinate the departures, he noticed something strange. People were smiling again. Just the act of making a difficult decision, of choosing to face greater challenges, had brought some of the old spark back to their eyes. Looking out at the perfect sunset one last time, Mark finally understood. Paradise wasn't a place without problems. Paradise was a place where you had the strength and spirit to face those problems head-on. And humans had evolved to find their joy not in the absence of struggle, but in the triumph of overcoming it. The morning alarm on New Earth blared as another gravity storm approached the colony. Paul Wright watched from the control center as his people sprang into action, not with fear, but with practiced excitement. They had weathered dozens of these storms now, each one teaching them something new about their harsh adopted home. Storm Team Alpha, you're up. Paul called through the comm system. Beta Team, stand by for backup. Let's show our alien friends how humans handle a little bad weather. Through the reinforced windows, he could see the strange purple clouds gathering. The gravity storms of New Earth were unlike anything on their home planet. Swirling masses of energy that could turn a 100-pound person into a 1,000-pound weight in seconds. Most species would have abandoned this world at the first sign of such phenomena. Humans had turned it into a sport. The storm teams raced across the colony in their modified vehicles, each one heavily armored against the gravity fluctuations. They had cameras mounted on their suits, broadcasting the action back to the control center where a group of alien scientists watched in amazement. "Look at them," Captain Reed whispered to his fellow observers. "They're laughing." Indeed, the humans were clearly enjoying themselves. Team Alpha had developed a scoring system for storm runs, points for speed, efficiency, and style. The current record holder was Mike from Engineering, who had managed to complete a full repair during peak gravity while telling jokes the entire time. "Incoming wave," someone shouted. The gravity sensors spiked, but the humans were ready. Their suits, originally designed by the Council's best engineers, had been extensively modified by the colonists. They had added shock absorbers, counterweights, and what they called gravity surfing modes. "You see that?" Paul pointed to one of the screens, where a team was literally riding the gravity waves to reach their destination faster. They figured out how to use the storms to their advantage. Traditional spacesuits fight against the gravity changes. Ours work with them. The alien observers took frantic notes. This was unprecedented. In just 9 months, the New Earth colony had not only survived, but had developed entirely new technologies and techniques for thriving in conditions that the Council had deemed nearly uninhabitable. The colony itself had grown in unexpected ways. The harsh conditions had forced them to build underground, but they had turned their subterranean halls into works of art. Gardens thrived in carefully engineered chambers, their plants adapted to the variable gravity. Children played in special gravity rooms where they could experience different weights, developing stronger bones and muscles than their earthbound counterparts. Even the local wildlife, initially seen as a terrible threat, had become part of their success. The massive 6-legged predators they called Thunder Runners were now helping patrol the colony perimeter, after some brave souls discovered they were highly intelligent and could be befriended with enough patience and dried fruit. As the storm raged outside, Paul pulled up the latest colony statistics for the observers. Their productivity was off the charts. Innovation rates were higher than any other human settlement in history. Physical and mental health scores were excellent. Even their birth rate was strong, with the colony's first New Earth native having been born just last week. "But how?" one of the alien scientists asked. "The constant danger, the physical strain, the never-ending challenges. By all our models, this should be destroying your people." Paul smiled, pointing to a group of colonists who were celebrating after successfully testing a new storm shield. "See their faces. That's why. Every challenge we overcome makes us stronger. Every problem we solve makes us smarter. Every storm we weather brings us closer together. He pulled up images from the colony's first days, comparing them to now. The changes were striking. The people looked stronger, more confident. Their eyes had a spark that was notably absent in footage from Paradise 7. "We're not just surviving here," Paul explained. "We're becoming better. Every day, this world tries to kill us. And every day, we prove we're tougher than it thinks. That's not crushing our spirit. It's exactly what the human spirit needs to soar." The gravity storm began to fade, and the teams returned to the colony, trading friendly insults about each other's performance. Captain Reed watched as they gathered in the common area, sharing stories and laughing about their close calls. He finally understood what he was seeing. This wasn't a colony surviving despite the hardships. This was a colony thriving because of them. Dr. James Martinez stared at his laboratory screens with growing excitement. After months of comparing data from all three colonies, he had finally found the pattern. It wasn't just psychology that made humans seek out challenges. It was written into their very DNA. The lab on Haven 3 had become his second home, filled with holographic displays showing medical scans from all three colony worlds. Red warning indicators blinked across the Paradise 7 data, while New Earth's results glowed with healthy green signals. The evidence was undeniable. "Computer, call Captain Reed," James said, his hand shaking as he organized his findings. "And get me a link to the Council's biology division. They need to see this immediately." Within an hour, his lab was packed with both physical and holographic observers. Alien scientists from across the galaxy watched as James pulled up his first diagram, a detailed scan of human cellular structure. "Look at these stress proteins," he pointed to glowing markers in the display. "In Paradise 7, they're practically dormant. But in New Earth's colonists, they're highly active and efficiently organized. These proteins don't just help us survive stress. They need it to function properly." He switched to another display, this one showing brain scans. And here's where it gets really interesting. Human brains actually form new neural pathways faster when faced with environmental challenges. The harder the challenge, the stronger the connections. The alien scientists murmured among themselves as James continued, showing more data. He explained how human bones grew stronger under higher gravity, how their immune systems became more robust when exposed to new threats, and how their problem-solving abilities increased dramatically when faced with genuine challenges. "But the most fascinating part," James said, pulling up his final display, "is this." The screen showed a comparison of hormone levels across all three colonies. "Look at the levels of dopamine, serotonin, and other happiness-related chemicals. They're highest in New Earth's colonists despite, or rather, because of, the constant challenges they face." Captain Reed moved closer to the display, his 4 eyes focusing intently on the data. "Are you saying that humans actually need stress to be healthy?" "Not just any stress," James clarified. "We need the right kind of stress. Think of it like exercise. If you never exercise, your muscles weaken. If you exercise too much, you get injured. But with the right amount of challenge," he gestured to the New Earth data, "you get stronger." One of the alien scientists, a floating crystal being, chimed in. "But what about the children? Surely they at least would do better in a safer environment." James smiled and pulled up footage from the 3 colony schools. In Paradise 7, children sat quietly in their classes, looking bored and listless. Haven 3 students were more active but still showed signs of restlessness. Then he showed New Earth School, where kids were engaging in complex problem-solving games, building survival skills, and literally bouncing off the walls in the variable gravity rooms. "Human children," James explained, "are like saplings in the wind. If you protect them too much, they grow up weak and unable to stand on their own. But if you let them face appropriate challenges, they grow strong and resilient." The implications were staggering. The Council had been wrong about Deathworlds. At least for humans. What they had classified as deadly environments were actually ideal conditions for human development. The very things they thought would kill humans were instead making them thrive. There's more, James added, pulling up one final set of data. We're actually seeing genetic expressions being activated by environmental challenges. Each generation born on New Earth might be slightly better adapted to handle stress than the last. We're not just surviving there. We're evolving to become even better at handling difficult conditions. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Captain Reed was the first to speak. So when humans said they preferred Earth because it was home, they weren't just being sentimental. They were instinctively choosing the environment that would keep them healthiest. James nodded. Exactly. We're not built for paradise. We're built for overcoming challenges. It's not just our history or our culture. It's our biology. The more we try to avoid all hardship, the more we harm ourselves. But give us the right challenges. He gestured to the New Earth data one more time, where every health indicator glowed bright green, and we become something remarkable. 1 year after the Great Experiment began, the Galactic Council's Grand Chamber looked very different from its first meeting with humanity. The perfect environmental bubbles that once separated different species were gone. Instead, delegates sat or floated together, some even attempting to adapt to Earth normal conditions. High Counselor Vale's crystalline form sparkled as she called the historic session to order. Today, we formally recognize Earth and similar worlds not as Deathworlds, but as crucible worlds, places where the forging of life creates its strongest forms. The chamber erupted in agreement. On the main display, live feeds showed the 3 experimental colonies. Paradise 7 was being converted into a vacation resort, a place for short visits, but no longer intended for permanent settlement. Haven 3 had found its purpose as a stepping stone, helping other species gradually adapt to more challenging environments. But it was the New Earth feed that drew the most attention. The colony had doubled in size, accepting transfers not just from the other experimental colonies, but from Earth itself. More surprisingly, there were now members of other species living there too. 3 months ago, Captain Reed reported, his environment suit noticeably lighter than before. We had our first non-human graduate from the New Earth adaptation program. Today, we have 20 different species training there, learning to thrive in conditions they once thought impossible. The cameras showed alien visitors working alongside humans, learning to navigate gravity storms, handle environmental challenges, and even appreciate the thrill of overcoming difficult situations. Some wore modified versions of human exercise gear, gradually building their strength in the higher gravity. Paul Wright, now the director of the New Earth Training Academy, appeared on screen. Behind him, a group of alien children played with human kids in a gravity gym, all of them laughing as they bounced between different gravity zones. What we've learned here goes beyond just human biology, Paul explained. We've discovered that many species have hidden adaptability they never knew about. They just never had a safe place to push their limits and find out what they're really capable of. Tom Miller, humanity's first representative to the Council, stepped forward to address the chamber. A year ago, we stood here and tried to explain why humans prefer challenging worlds. Today, we're not just explaining it, we're sharing it. Every graduate of the New Earth program returns to their homeworld stronger, more confident, and better equipped to handle life's challenges. The display shifted to show Earth itself. The Council had officially reclassified it from Class 12 Deathworld to Class 1 Crucible World. Tourism had exploded, with aliens visiting Earth's most extreme environments under careful human guidance. Mountain climbing, deep-sea diving, and even weather watching had become popular interstellar attractions. Dr. James Martinez presented the latest scientific findings. We've discovered that controlled exposure to challenge and stress isn't just beneficial for humans. It's beneficial for almost all intelligent life. The key is finding the right level of challenge for each species and helping them build up to it gradually. The Council's Education Division reported that schools across the galaxy were being redesigned based on the human model. Protective barriers were being carefully reduced, allowing young ones of all species to face appropriate challenges and develop resilience. But perhaps the most significant change, High Counselor Vale announced, is in how we view the galaxy itself. We've spent millennia trying to make everything safe and comfortable. We thought we were creating paradise. Instead, we were accidentally holding ourselves back. The final images showed the newest project, a series of training worlds, each designed with different levels of challenge. Under human guidance, other species could now safely push their limits and discover their true potential. A human phrase has become popular among our people, Captain Reed said, standing proudly without his environment suit for the first time. They say smooth seas don't make skilled sailors. We finally understand what that means. Challenge isn't our enemy, it's our teacher. As the session concluded, the chamber's dome showed not the calm of deep space, but the swirling storms of a dozen different worlds. Each one represented a new opportunity for growth, a new challenge to overcome, a new way to become stronger. The experiment that began with 3 colonies had transformed into something much bigger, a galaxy-wide understanding that true paradise wasn't a place without challenges, but a place where every being had the chance to prove they could overcome them. And at the heart of it all was Earth, humanity's beloved Deathworld, now recognized not as a harsh accident of fate, but as the crucible that had forged one of the galaxy's most remarkable species, a species that had learned not just to survive the impossible, but to help others do the same.